Yes, yes, yes. Show love. Hello, 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 everyone. You know, this is Gina from Talk with Gina, and I'm always so excited to have all of you here with me today and every single week. All of you are so supportive. You know, remember to click subscribe, right? And like this video and share it with folks. This show is all about wellness, learn, uplift, and inspire. And all the guests that I have on, we want to talk about their journey first, you know, because that's the wellness piece. And then we get into what they're doing. So last week we talked about planting. You know, you can see behind me that I absolutely love planting. But this week we're talking about gardening, another passion of mine. You know, with everything that's going on in the world, some folks have actually taken themselves to task and they are growing their own food. I did it. I didn't think that I could, but I said, you know what? If I'm pretty good with planting, then I should be pretty good with growing my own food. And I did. Let me tell you something. Today, I have two dynamic ladies. The first lady up is DeLashua Waddler. She's new to gardening. She just started 3 months ago. And I'm going to bring her on so that she could tell us about the exciting journey that she's on with growing her own food. Where are you, DeLashua?
Yay! How are you?
Oh, I'm doing so very well. Thank you.
Thanks
How
for
are you
having me.
doing?
I am
Oh,
well.
thank you
Thanks
so
for
much for
having me.
agreeing. Thank you for agreeing to be on. So please just give us a little background, take a little time on your background, um, and tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm originally from New York, and now I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I always told myself that I wanted a garden. Like, once I get some land, I'm going to get me a garden. I'm going to get a garden. But land is taking a while to come. So I ended up just starting a garden on my balcony, and it's been successful over the past 3 months. It's really like changed my life in a better way.
Wow. So about how big is your patio?
It's maybe like a 7 by 7. It's not too big, but I have so much on the balcony, so it's been an amazing journey so far.
So what are you growing now?
I actually had to write a list, so I'm gonna read it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm growing Kalina. Kalina is a Ukrainian berry bush. I'm
Okay.
growing rosemary,
Sounds great.
lavender,
Mm.
peppermint, pumpkins, bell peppers, potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, strawberries, sunflowers, corn, grapefruit, lemons, and I dabble in like a bit of mycology, the study of fungus.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I started
Yeah.
following someone that was into that, and it was very interesting. So when you started, did you find that you messed up? Did you find that you had to start over because you didn't do something right? What was the
Absolutely.
beginning of your journey like? Uh-huh.
Absolutely. At first, when I started out with just an arrow garden. That's when I started my lavender, my rosemary, and peppermint. But just
Mhm.
seeing like it grow like every day, that's what really pushed me to start taking things outside and putting things in different pots and using different soils. So one of my probably, I would say, biggest fails was how I started my own strawberries. Um, so when I started the strawberries, I kind of just like did a slice of just put I just kind of sliced the strawberry and put it in some soil. So that took about 6 weeks to grow.
Mhm.
And as far as like as far as like I kind of felt like a little taken aback, like I failed a bit just doing that. So the second time I did it, I kind of learned from my mistakes. So now my strawberries are growing healthy.
Oh, that okay. That's good. It does take some time. So you could be doing anything, right?
Yes.
Anything and anything. Why did you choose gardening? Because it's a lot of patience that is needed with gardening. So why did you choose gardening?
It's something that like I said, it's something that I always wanted. And for myself, I felt like I needed to learn patience. I needed something to kind of keep me, like slow me down, something I really have to pay attention to, you know, with work, being a mom, you know, just handling everything with life. Gardening has like slowed me down. Gardening has given me the kind of like peace that I need within like my chaotic world.
Right. So you would say that it is a form of therapy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a form of therapy. Even if it's not like, even if it's just like one plant that you just take care of, something that you know, care for, you water every week. So even if it's something small, absolutely. Gardening and dealing with plants and all of those things are it's very healthy for your mental.
Right. So when you started, the reason why I wanted to have you on is because this is new for you. You
Yes.
know, for me, I'm like teetering on the close to the expert side, as well as my next guest. But sometimes folks may feel like, wow, you don't remember what it was like, you know, and you know all the things that go into gardening. So, what I want to know from you is when you started gardening, did you consult any books? Did you do a lot of Googling? Or did you just start on your own saying, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and do this?
So I did just start it. And then eventually when I failed on some things, I did start Googling things. So now I went from watching Housewives of Atlanta to watching how to grow potatoes on YouTube, you know. So just even my social medias and what I see has changed. It's just gardening, it's just plants, you know, it's just growth and life and mental health. So that has helped me a lot.
I did the same thing when I started. What ended up happening is that as I posted my garden, more and more, you know, because these devices listen to you and the algorithms, and you know, you start following people, and next thing you know, I was part of this community that I didn't even really, I didn't ask to be in the community, but the algorithm put me in the community, and I couldn't have been happier, you know,
Yes.
because there were folks that I met that were doing the same thing that I was doing, and I was able to get tips from them. But I also have family members that helped me through it. So, how do you fertilize? What do you use for fertilizer?
I use a few different fertilizers. Most of them are natural. I have a few different soils, but as far as fertilizer, I use banana peels. I boil my banana peels and use that. That is potassium and phosphorus for your plants.
Mhm.
I use onion peels as well, which gives off your plants nitrogen.
Mhm.
So I usually use those two fertilizers and kind of dilute it and mix it. And that's been going amazing for me.
Wow. And what do you do for pests?
Right now, I don't have, from what I've read,
Hmm.
you have to be, it's okay to have a certain amount of pests. So it's okay. So where I am right now, I don't have too many of that. I let my soil dry out enough so that they won't, you know, be deep down in the soil. You have to kind of let your soil dry out if you don't want pests. And then, and that's basically it. I really haven't gotten to that point yet, honestly.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. And so your pollinators, what pollinators do you have that's helping you along with this? I know
So
it's been
right
3 months, but what comes around in your area?
So right now, I'm just at a beginner stage. So I haven't even gotten to that pollinating stage. Um, but I've been
But
doing my
have you
research.
noticed any bees in your area, any butterflies in your area? That's really what I'm asking.
I haven't noticed that yet. I did plant some wildflowers, hoping to bring them in because I live on the third floor. I live kind of high, so I did
Right.
grow some wildflowers, hoping to bring in the butterflies and bring in the bees. But that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. So take heart,
Mhm.
because when I started, the same thing, like I didn't, there was nothing around. I was like, oh, okay. But you know what? Once my flowers started to bloom and then I planted some marigolds. I planted plants that would attract, and they
Yes.
certainly did come. They
Okay.
came. And then I got into understanding bees, and all bees are not the same. There are so many species of bees. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So it was just so amazing to go from there is nothing on my patio. You know what I'm saying? Just in general, all of these years, I never had to deal with anything. And
Mhm.
then all of a sudden now there are bees. And
Yes.
then they would come around like clockwork at a certain time in the morning and then again in the afternoon. And I said, this is really something. And the ones in the morning would be a little bigger than the ones in the afternoon.
Mhm.
I found out that carpenter bees, they set out in the morning and
Wow.
honeybees sent out in the afternoon. So it's like, hold tight to this journey, Delasha,
Yeah.
because I'm telling you, it gets even more exciting,
Mhm.
as it goes on, as you see how your garden will start to flourish and it'll start producing the flowers and you'll see how everything is going to come out. So you said that you had potatoes.
Yes. And sweet potatoes.
You did potato. So the potatoes that you use there, you bought them from the supermarket or where did
Yes.
you
It
get
was
those?
like it was russet potatoes and
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, everyone. She froze a little bit. I'm sorry. Maybe she'll, come back. I'm sorry. Little technical difficulties, but it's all good. Okay. So you're saying that you bought the russet potatoes?
yes, I bought some russet potatoes.
Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. Okay. In the meantime, let's go to the comments and let's see what folks are saying. Okay, we have Deborah
Got the pieces.
coming in from Long Island. Go G. Oh, Darlene. Hey, Darlene. Good afternoon to you too. We have Miss Ann. Oh, yes, Miss Ann, all the way from New Jersey. Okay, Kim. Hi, everyone. We have Wade coming in from Atlanta, Kim coming in from Florida. So you see this, DeLashua, we have folks from all over listening to you and your journey. And
Yeah.
we have Craig, great topic. This reminds me of all the of the bill initiative 0578-2018, which speaks to, you see what I'm saying? Listen here, we have some astute folks on here. Okay. He's giving me the bill number. Okay. Which speaks to the establishment and development of school gardens. Hope it gets passed so all New York City public schools can have gardening. And that's so very
Yeah.
true. So we're going to try this one more time. We have a little bit more time left. So you purchase some russet potatoes and you purchase it from a supermarket
Yes.
or a farmer's market.
I purchased it from a supermarket.
Okay.
They were sitting on top of my fridge for a while and they started to like sprout. So I just chopped them up and I put them in like a big tote with some soil and they are doing amazingly well. I'm so proud of them.
Isn't that something how the same thing happened to me because I know that potatoes grow underground, but it's not until you start growing that you have that wow moment. You're like, wait a minute. Isn't that right? Okay, we froze again. But anyway, when DeLashua said they started sprouting, we do a little show and tell. So this
Yes.
is what she means. And these are actually called chits, CHITS, or you can use the word sprout, like DeLashua said. And this one potato, believe it or not, can yield about 8 pounds. I'm telling you, it's a true story. So you're using grow bags.
Yes. I use
Hmm.
7-gallon grow bags.
Okay. And how
But
many pieces of chits did you
so
put inside of the bag?
So my potatoes are in a big tote that I purchased from Walmart, and I just poked holes at the bottom just for better drainage. And I only chopped about 3 pieces, 3 sprouts,
Okay.
and put them kind of away from each other.
Okay, that's good. and wait till it starts to really, bloom up, because it's just total. The whole process is amazing. I so wanted to dig inside and let me see. They have some grow bags that have a window, but I didn't want to do the window thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like being pregnant and you find out what the baby is before the time. I was like, no, I want to wait. Oh, I want to wait the whole time for for it sprouting. Please, 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 you can follow DeLashua Waddler on her TikTok at lay_grew_it. Isn't that right, Lay?
Yes, Lay grew it.
Okay, so, all right. Thank you so much. Are you going to hang out?
Yes, I'll hang out.
In the green room?
Yes, I'll hang out in the green room.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'll be
Thank
back to
you.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Okay.
No problem.
We have Sylvia Hill. Hello. This is something I'm trying to do and failing, but I will keep going. We have someone else from the Bronx. DeLashua's haircut and your blouse. I love it. Diana, I love the beginner viewpoint. See what I'm talking about? Yes. You gotta give them from the beginning and we get into the other part, right? All right, dear. So I'll check in with you in a few, okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
No problem.
Go on now. Oh my goodness. Listen, it was important for me to start from the beginning, because I think it's absolutely awesome. When you actually start gardening, and it's been 3 months for DeLashua, and she is on fire with it. I mean, when you follow her, you'll see her spraying her plants and, in her garden and giving it so much attention. And it really does help with wellness. It does help with your clarity, the power of the soil. Some folks would look at soil and say, oh, that's just dirt. No. That's food. That's food, because you need that dirt. You need that dirt. You need that rich dirt. And you also need sun, and you also need water. And that's how we get food. And we have to keep in mind that a lot of times we go to the stores now, or the supermarkets, and, the grapes and the watermelons, and they advertise it seedless. And they may be sweet, but guess what? They are manufactured. Okay. And just like, in order to carry on life, someone has to have the egg. So the women have the egg, right? And that's how it goes. And so now when it comes down to fruits, the seed is what's going to allow us to plant so that we can get food. So if something is seedless, now we're actually depending upon someone. And in this instance, we're actually dependent upon the government. So everybody doesn't have space to grow, but some of us do, and we create that. So my next guest, she is an expert. She has been gardening for a solid 26 years. She says she's going to get back to it, but her gardening experience actually started way before 26 years. So I'm going to bring her on. This is Frances Benjamin, hailing all the way from New York. Oh my goodness, Frances!
Hey, Gina.
With your pothos. I know my plans. Pothos hanging right there to the right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's me. That's me.
Oh, how are you?
I am wonderful, Gina. I'm so wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be on your show, G.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to even have you on. So give us a little background on you.
Okay, so I am Frances. A lot of people know me as Margaret, Maggie. I come from this beautiful nature island of Dominica, and I've been here for a very long time. I went to high school and college up here, and I, of course, made a whole new family of friends over here who I love very much. I love life. And as I get older, I realize I have always been a nature baby. I say that a lot, especially when I go home and I do my post. I always say I'm a nature baby. Even here in New York, even in the winter, I'm a nature baby. So planting for me is almost like a natural thing. It's almost natural for me. In Dominica, that's what I knew. I knew trees and flowers, and people had a lot of plants, and I loved them. We had the botanical gardens where we used to go from since children. So I am used to plants. I am used to flowers. Nature is a huge, huge part of my being.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so far in a nutshell who
So did
Francis.
you start? Okay, so did you have family that was growing back home? When we say home, when Caribbean people say home, that means like where we're from originally. So
Yes,
home for Francis is Dominica.
yes.
Yes.
And
So
let's be quite clear, not Dominican Republic,
mhm,
Dominica, which is
Dominica.
situated between Martinique and Guadeloupe. I just want us to get that clear.
Yes. And is the sister to Antigua, where I'm from. So we have a lot of Dominicans living in Antigua, and we have
Yes,
great relations all of these years.
yes,
Okay.
they have a love affair.
Yes. So you had family that would grow. Hmm.
Yes. So what I noticed a lot in Dominica is people tend to have these lilies, and you don't even have to put them in soil. People normally had them in nice vases with water, and the lilies just grew. And if you go to most Dominicans home, they still have those lilies. So I'm used to seeing that. And the roots are in the plant, in the vase, but they keep them in there. And then, you share, you give some people some of those
Right.
lilies. Now, my mom had one, and because we had what we call a veranda at home, which is a porch, patio, whatever you want to call it, we also had a lot of plants on there. My grandmother, who worked in the country, I remember for the summer my mom would send me up to my grandmother's, and oh my God, if I told my grandmother that I had a tummy ache, okay, whether it's diarrhea, constipation, a cold, whatever, my grandmother would go to the back and she would walk to a particular herb and pick it, and she would brew the tea and give it to me, and poof, just like that. I would,
Well.
and
Mhm.
I have always, she's passed a long time ago, and I still have that vision of her just walking to she didn't go searching out of all the herbs. She knew exactly which one to go pick to bring to the kitchen and make the tea for me that would heal
Mhm.
me. So with all that, here I am. I came to New York in 1975, and I lived in Co-op City. I was on the 16th floor, I think 16, 16 or 26. And my godmother, in the summer, she had plants, flowers. So I never got away from the flowers and plants, lovers. So when I had my own place, it was an apartment. What do you think I did? I had one of those because these are the easiest plants to grow. And I started with this, and I had cactus, I had money trees, I had ponytails, and I just kept on growing. And the bigger they got, the happier I got. I was in tune with my plants because plants are life.
Mhm.
Understand? So I treat them just like I treat myself. I
Mhm.
realized when I didn't give them water, they would flare. Just like when I don't drink water, when we don't drink water, we don't function at our best, right? And the
Right.
plants same. Um,
Right.
Same as nutrition. You eat good food, then you thrive. You give your plants good food, they thrive. So
Right.
once I started saying I had a green thumb, I just kept on going to the point where I had an apartment one. You literally had to go like this to get to the stereo set in my apartment. And I loved my
Mhm.
jungle. My friends would call it a jungle. I loved my jungle. And then every time I moved with my plants. And what happens when you move sometimes, because plants, like people, we get very comfortable with where we are. And sometimes when you move them to another location, they don't do very well, or they freeze for a moment. So I would look at them, I would talk to them, and I would let them know you're in a new place. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. Call me crazy, but you know what? I talk to my plants.
I do the
When I,
same. I do
when
the
I
same
come in,
thing.
I say, Mommy's home. Yes,
Yes,
I do.
I do the same thing. I do. So when did you transition? You are too much. When did you transition or even get into gardening?
Okay, so
Right.
when I bought a house, because now
Hmm.
I have a house, we had a yard, and it was a nice sized yard. It wasn't ginormous, but it was big enough for us. So I did one side flowers, one side veggies. The flowers I was already used to, I'd go to Home Depot, I never buy big flowers. I buy small ones because I want to see them grow. I
Hmm.
want to say, I love when guests come and I can say, I had it this small and look at how it is now. So I like to see plants grow from very small. So I had all these beautiful flowers. I did that for about 2 years, and I wasn't going to the herbs yet. And then I went to Home Depot like the third summer, and I said, you know what? Let me buy a little bit of thyme, a little bit. I bought the plant for the, what you call it, the sweet peppers, the bell peppers. I bought hot peppers. I bought I bought cucumbers. I got lettuce. I got tomatoes. I was on the road. You couldn't stop me. Where I didn't have dirt, I put pots, big pots. And Gina, I started growing stuff. And every day I'm looking at them. Every day I'm looking at them. I'm talking to them. I'm smiling for them. If I saw one new leaf, I'd go, oh my God, I cannot believe you got a baby. And that's
So,
what I did.
so wait, let me just stop you there. So some of your planting was in ground, correct?
Mhm.
And then you grew some in pots.
Pots, because I didn't have enough space in ground.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
And
what did you? Okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want to hear your question.
I was going to ask you. So when you actually plant, because you were already established. See, when I started my garden, I wasn't. I started from seeds. Everything started from seeds. So
Mhm.
you already started. You know, you had a jump start.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
Now, did you pay attention to zone planting? Meaning every area we start differently. Florida has a different zone on when you would start your tomatoes, in New
Mhm.
York and so forth, because
Yes,
that's how I paid attention to the zone. So
yes.
as you purchased according to when they should be planted.
Hmm. Hmm. I read,
Okay.
because every time I went to Home Depot, or I would Google, I would take out that little plastic piece of information they had about the plant, and I read
Right.
about when to plant when to plant that herb and when to expect your harvest.
Okay.
Let me just tell you, the first herb, and I didn't think, I forgot about that. The first herb we really planted was something called anisette, and
Mm-hmm.
in the Caribbean they call it nani, and it's a very light looking leaf, and some people put it in tea, some people
Mm-hmm.
put it in cocoa tea, some people put
Mm-hmm.
it, and a lot of the guys they put it in a rum as well. It gives it
Okay.
a good flavor, and so we planted that, and that thing grew so wild the next year. I was happy and upset at the same time, because the thing just took, we look like a nanny's that garden. It just took over. So I said, well, we have good soil. And then I went to mint. I decided to plant mint. The mints were beautiful. The leaves were big. And the next year they came back even bigger. And we made mint tea, and it was absolutely delicious. Now, let me just say this about the dirt. Putting my hands in the soil took me to a whole other level. I
Mm-hmm.
felt connected with the earth. Yes, I did
Mm-hmm.
have gloves, but there's something about coming outside, digging into the dirt, and
Mm-hmm.
planting your own. It's a feeling that I can't even explain. And it's not everybody who wants that, because some people, they see worms and they dash. Whenever
Right.
I saw a worm, I was so happy, because I knew my soil was good. And it got to the point where if I accidentally cut a worm, I felt so bad. I felt
Yeah.
so bad. I would talk to the woman and apologize. But
I know I would do the same thing. You get so
yes,
caught
I
up
did.
in
Yes, I did.
nature. I have better. She came on. She said, I did some gardening when I lived on Long Island. I had a
Mhm.
yard and I let nature take its place, and it just happened. It run its course, and it's so
Mhm.
true. That's what
Yes.
happened. You just leave it.
Yeah,
So, did you, in your journey of
mhm.
gardening, what did you use for fertilizer?
Okay. So I used to get the organic soil from Home
Hmm.
Depot, and that is what I used. On the flowers, I was using, because the flowers and the herbs were in opposite directions in the yard, so they didn't share the same soil. So I would use Miracle Grow on my plants, just because of my flowers, only because I wanted to see them bloom so big, and they did. But I never used any such thing on my vegetables. I didn't want anything like that in my vegetables. I would sometimes put eggshells. Sometimes I use coffee, and the organic soil, and that's, to me, that's just it worked for me.
Right.
When my harvest bloomed, I had squash, I had cucumbers, I had tomatoes galore because the yard is very sunny and the tomatoes, they love the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I had never seen a tomato plant. It wrapped around one of our trees, and the tomatoes were so far up I couldn't reach some of them. I
Wow.
never knew tomatoes could grow like that, and they were so sweet. I started sharing with people, and some people asked me, "Did you put sugar in them?" I said, "I can't put sugar in tomatoes. They were so
Uh-huh.
sweet, you know." But I have to share my bell pepper story. Oh my God. So I'm cooking in my kitchen and I need to use bell peppers and thyme. And I would walk out in my yard and pick the thyme and pick I had German thyme. I
Uh-huh.
loved it. I would pick the peppers. So when I picked my first set of bell peppers, I had green ones and I had red ones. When I used that knife to cut through the bell pepper, I cannot believe the noise. It made this snapping noise that
Yes.
I had never
Yes.
heard from
Yes.
cutting bell peppers, even from the
Yes.
store, even if I buy organic, whatnot. But my bell
Mm-hmm.
peppers were crisp and fresh. And that hearing that noise, the knife going through it, I said, "Oh my God, this is the real thing. This is the real McCoy." You know, I said, I got so excited. I said, I want to grow what I eat. I want to eat what I grow. But we
Right.
only and our summer is just but so long, so I could only do so much. But I was able to. I had what's the purple one called? The
What,
purple the
eggplant?
purple eggplant. I couldn't
Uh-huh.
believe I had eggplant. And
Yeah.
again, those were in just huge pots that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Those in huge pots. I had hot peppers. Bringing the food, the herbs from my yard into
Yeah.
my kitchen and using them, it gives you a whole different appreciation
Mm-hmm.
of planting your own foods.
It really does.
And
Mm-hmm.
I said, this is what I want to do. I want to, if I do get another home where I have a nice yard, I really want to grow the majority of the herbs and the vegetables that I eat. I want to eat what I grow. I want to grow what I eat.
Yeah. It's definitely a powerful feeling
Mhm.
to grow your own food. And
Yes.
and I had a 20 by 5 was my space.
Hmm.
What I didn't have that you had was the ability for the rain to just come down. And
Yeah.
that is so important. So
Hmm.
unless it was a strong rainfall,
Hmm.
the plants in the back, the way I
Hmm.
had my area situated where I was growing, they didn't really get that water. But the
Okay.
ones that were in towards the front that would get
Mhm.
that rainwater, and then the sun would come out,
Mhm.
amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And it made me want to just keep growing and growing and growing. And I had so much stuff. I mean, I was
Mhm.
even growing zucchini.
Yes.
When I've had the zucchini, it was too close to
Mhm.
another pot. It was actually too close because I had a half a wine barrel because
Okay.
I did a lot of container gardening.
Okay.
You see, because I didn't have a lot of space.
Mhm.
So I did red onions and
Mhm.
beets. They
Ooh.
were they were in their own right.
Mhm.
And then I had a few other things that were together. So when I did the herbs, I did rosemary, sage, and thyme. They were in
Mhm.
their own pots because I had to figure out a way to grow more with
Mhm.
limited
Yes.
space that I
Yes.
had. So with
Yes.
the zucchini, because it was low
Mhm.
and the flowers were hidden, the bees couldn't get to it. And let me tell you something, bees are something else, right?
Yes, they
They're
are.
not here for trying to figure out how to get to the flowers because their
Mhm.
attitude is, I'm helping you.
Mhm.
Okay. You
Mhm.
need to make it to where I can get to your flowers. Because if you don't make me get to your flowers, there's someplace else I can go. They want
Yes.
something else.
Yes. Yes.
So they
Yes.
couldn't get to the flowers. So
Mhm.
what did I do? I took a very small makeup brush, one that you could
Mhm.
even use to, just like brush your eyebrows,
Yeah.
a small one. And the other thing about some of these flowers, and we're speaking about the zucchini, is that when the flowers open,
Mhm.
they resembles like the anatomy of a human.
Yes, yes, very much
So
so.
right, you saw that, right?
Yes.
So you could see the male flower
Mhm.
is literally sticking straight out at you.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's realistic.
Mhm.
And then the female looks just like
A
what a
female.
female would look like, a
Yes,
female's you know, private
yes,
part.
yes.
And so what I would do, I took the brush
Mhm.
and I rolled it around the male. It's called a pestle.
Right.
So I rolled it around the pestle,
Mhm.
and then I rubbed it on the female.
Yeah. Mhm.
So some people on social media, they said, Gina, you're forcing insemination.
You're
Listen,
helping.
I'm
You're
holding my
helping.
bikini
You're
and I
helping.
wasn't getting it. Nothing, because some things will actually grow without,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
fertilized. You just need to move it in the wind, and it'll
Yes.
pollinate
Yes.
and all that. But you really need some plants. You need those bees, and I know some people are
Mhm.
like, bees is crazy. But if we don't have bees, if we
Forget
don't
it.
have butterflies, if we don't have birds,
Yeah.
we don't have food. Because I can't imagine like 10 and 15 people on a farm and everybody shaking the trees. You know
Okay.
what I'm
Okay.
pollinate and so forth. And so that's what I did with my zucchini. And I had an amazing harvest of zucchini.
There
But
you go.
I had to self-pollinate because my
Yes.
bees couldn't get to it.
Good.
So what
Yes.
you use, you said you just used eggshells and
Gina, I had bees galore in my
mm,
yard.
that's
Bees,
what also helped you.
yes, I had bees and butterflies. I had
Mm.
bees and butterflies. I had them in abundance. The bees were always there, and I love looking at them. And I was coming closer to see what they're doing, so I can see how they're doing it. So they were there. I had all the space. I had, everything was open up there for them, and so they always had bees. Always. It was it.
That's
So
so
nature did
important. Mhm.
it did its chore in my yard.
Right. But before you started growing, you didn't see all of those bees.
They used to come to the flowers, when
Oh
before I
yeah,
did
you had
herbs.
flowers, so they
Yeah,
were
so they
used
were
to
always on the
already coming.
flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you, I had bees, I had butterflies, birds, and I just love the fact that it just attracted all these. All I had in my garden was really a garden. It really,
Mm-hmm.
really was. I took that very, very seriously. And
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time there. In the mornings before I went to work, you wouldn't believe, and if it's 10 minutes, Gina, I would go sit there and have a cup of coffee. I didn't care if it was 10 minutes, just to
I
sit there in
know.
the summer, have my coffee, and off I go. The
I know. I
evening,
know. Yeah. I used to do the same thing when I would look out, and then here comes
mhm,
the carpenter bee. Like I was telling DeLashua earlier, the carpenter bees, they come out in the morning. And then
mhm.
next thing you know, I'm learning all about the world of bees and when they come out and what they do,
Ooh,
and when I would see them come out, I would go back inside because that's their time. And then there was
okay.
some that would just swarm around.
Around, yeah.
And there were others that would actually go on the flower.
Mhm,
So I said, I don't know. It just interested me so. And so I
mhm.
checked it out. And the bees that swarm, those are the male bees. And they're
Oh,
protecting the female. That's what
eh,
they're doing. And
well,
the
well,
females are the only ones, right, that will gather the honey. Now, only honeybees gather honey. So the
okay,
carpenter bees, they're just about pollinating. That's all that
okay,
they're
that's
doing.
their job.
Only the
Mhm.
honeybees, right, will collect that honey.
Okay.
Oh, there's
You
so many.
see,
I know. I got so into it. Like it was deep like that. And then check it out. I'm in this 20 by 5 space, right? Where
okay.
I'm growing my garden.
Mhm.
But every time I go into the garden, right, I have to put on my garden shoes. What is that? Why wouldn't I just go out with my bare feet? But I had to have like I had to have the whole get up.
Yes,
You know what I mean? I had
yes,
the
yes.
hat, I had the gloves. Meantime, now I have shelter, because I
Mhm.
told you I didn't get the rain didn't come straight down, but I had an amazing sun. But
Yes, yes.
still, did I really need the hat? You know what I mean? Did I need
Yes.
the gloves? But it was all part of it.
If you're gonna do it right.
You
Do
couldn't
it
tell
right.
me anything. I was like so all in. It wasn't
Yes.
funny. And for me, as far as the fertilizer was concerned, I have a cousin that lives in Long Island, and he too is very serious about his gardening.
Mhm.
And so he would go to the stable that wasn't too far from where he lived, and they
Mhm.
fed the horses hay.
They did
And
what? Oh, okay, the hay.
mhm,
Okay.
because when you feed them the grain, no, that's no
Mhm.
good. They would
Okay.
feed them the hay, and he would bring me some manure.
Mhm.
So my aunt says, "Wait a minute, you got a whole bunch of ish in your house?" I was like, "Listen, that's nutrition." And so I literally, mixed all of that up
Okay.
with in the soil, what I mixed up. He also
Mhm.
ended up having a worm farm, and he
Okay.
wanted to give me, some of the worm farm, wanted to split it off with me. I didn't have the space for it.
Okay. Okay.
So he would bring me the castings.
Oh my gosh.
And the
Yeah.
castings, that one that's what they call the NPK. That's the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and
Okay.
the potassium. The K is
Okay.
potassium.
Okay.
So I would use that as
Mhm.
well. And then also, my uncle now back home in Antigua, he's like, get some chicken manure. I said, listen here. When I pass by these little chicken spots around, they smell to high heaven. I don't know what they feeding them chickens.
Excuse
You
me.
know what I mean? Because chickens
Yeah.
don't. I
Right.
didn't know that. All of these things I came to learn, with this.
Mhm.
So it's the chicken manure is full of phosphate, which is really.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
then I also learned that everything that we grow, there are different fertilizers that we need to
Mhm.
use for them that speaks to it,
Yes.
especially if you're doing it, like how I was doing it.
Yes. Yes. I also what I did once I bought manure from Home Depot. So I had
Right.
to put this manure oil in my garden in the for the herbs and the vegetables. They did, and I mixed them up with the soil, the organic soil, and it did. Okay, it was a little stinky for a little bit, but they did so well. My fruits and veggies was so healthy, and so that was something I had to learn as well. Um, Also, what I wanted to touch on is I had to be careful with the organic soil. I decided, and as much as the organic soil was good for outside, I'm gonna bring it into my house plants because I had a lot of
Mhm.
house plants. Wasn't a good idea. I had gnats galore. When I tell you we had gnats all over the place. And I read about the life cycle of gnats. So we started reading on how to get, because they're small, they're annoying, they're just all over the place, and they reproduce quickly. They die and they reproduce quickly. And
Yes.
Gina, we started reading. Sahara, Malika, myself, we're reading how do we get rid of gnats because these things are just all over in the house.
Yes.
And we did the honey on the sheets of paper. We did tea bags. We did this. We did all kinds of things. And I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. I didn't know what to do. All I know was those things were dying and reproducing, dying and reproducing. So I said to myself one day, okay, let me just think what I think I need to do because I learned that they they thrive in moist. So here I am
Mhm.
watering my plants, and guess what? The gnats over there laying their eggs in the moisture and breeding some more. I'm like, okay, that's what you're doing. All right. I spoke to my plants and I said to them, Mommy's going to have to starve you all a little bit from water. So I decided I'm going to dry out my plants. And I
Mhm.
was scared out of my wits because I did not want any of my plants to die.
Yeah.
But that was by then it was about, I kid you not, about 3 months. And I had it up to here. And I decided I wasn't going to water the plants. I left them alone. They stayed nice for a while. I want to tell you, I didn't water my plants for about a month and so. And my plants did not die on me. They would droop. Some of them droop, but not a lot. A month plus.
Mhm.
When the
Mhm.
soil was dry, I saw zero gnats. And what I
Mhm.
did was I took a fork and I just dug in the soil just to make sure it was very, very dry. I put some more, but regular soil, not organic soil in there. And I started watering my plants again. That was
Mhm.
the end of gnats. So For those who have not, for me, it was the organic soil that I brought into my house that I thought brought the nuts. I don't know why, but they did. And so, in case you have nuts, you're gonna have to dry out, let the plants dry out so that the nuts can die and the eggs can die, so that you can now, go back and grow your plants like you should.
So I never exactly, and that's really a good point. But I didn't have that problem because what I did is that all of the soil that I used, I washed my soil in scalding hot water.
Yeah, you told
because what happens is that the soil is mixed up in these warehouses, and these microorganisms are in everything. If you leave a banana out that looks healthy, 1 week, 2 weeks later, you have these flies, these fruit flies. Well, where the fruit flies come from? The fruit flies came from the banana. So there are microorganisms in everything, even in our body. So I learned to actually put my soil in, it just so happened, like 5-gallon tubs, and I boil water, and I pour the water in the 5-gallon tub. Of course, it has holes on the bottom, and I stir it around. Add a little bit more water, and I let it completely cool. That will kill all of the eggs. So I didn't have any gnat problem. You know what? It's not just the organic soil. It's soil, period. It's just soil. You right, the one that you purchased, that it happened to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's always the best bet. You can also put the soil in the oven and bake it for X amount of time. I was like, I wasn't doing that, so I just put it in I put it in the 5-gallon bucket. Now, when I talk about the 5-gallon bucket, I need everybody to please understand I'm speaking food grade, because there are two types of buckets. You can go to Home Depot or any of these big box stores and get a 5-gallon bucket. But let's say if it's used for paint or something, that's not what you use for gardening. You need it to actually say food grade. You can even go to some of the restaurants that will throw away these 5-gallon tubs. And you can just ask them. I've done that before. I've asked them for the tubs and I've gotten them. I plug holes, I put my soil, and boom, I've used it for gardening. So if you use the 5-gallon tubs, it must be food grade, but that was a good point though, Francis, with the gnats. Yes. Because what happened, we have Nelda here from Houston said that she had to throw out lots of plants. I tried to tell Miss Nalda, who's writing in, right, to put the scalding water, but she went ahead and used it. And then she had all of these gnats, and she's like, "Oh, it's driving me crazy." But also to your point, it's the moisture that will allow the eggs to.
Well, they thrive in moisture. The very water that your plant needs, they thrive in that.
Right. But if you put that scalding hot water, you won't have an issue. Did you grow spinach? Did you have spinach?
Yes, I did. I did. I grew spinach. No, I'm sorry. Kale. I grew.
Okay.
I was amazed.
Yeah. I was amazed too. I had the kale. I bought the seeds back from Antigua and I planted those spinach seeds. I had butter lettuce. That was so delicious. My mom told me about butter lettuce. And I really wasn't hot on butter lettuce. I just wasn't, not because anything is wrong with it. I just wasn't really buying it.
Yes.
When I grew my butter lettuce, it was beyond amazing. Delicious. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I did get some bugs on my plants, and what I used was neem oil, but not all neem oil is the same.
The same. Let me ask you, for the butter lettuce, did you grow this from the seed?
From the seed. Everything in my garden, I started from seed. With the exception of the potatoes, because I had a little show and tell earlier.
Yeah,
so I started my potatoes, from kits.
Okay.
That's what I started them from, and I put it in a 5-gallon bucket. That's how I started my potatoes. But everything else, I started from seeds.
Yes.
And that was amazing. And I started indoors, because I had a little bit of a little issues from time to time. Like when I first started, my things were leggy, and I didn't understand why they so leggy. And then my uncle, who is a really great gardener, back home, he said it's not getting enough light. And I'm saying, what are you talking about, Uncle? It's right here by the light. Well, Gina went out and bought a grow light. Joyce was like,
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? They were not leggy.
Yeah.
Right. They were solid. And I said, look at this. They speak to you.
Yes, they do. It's important that when people buy plants that you read about the plants, because if you have a low light apartment house, then you need to get low light plants. If you bring a plant that needs direct sunlight, especially they'll tell you how many hours, and you bring it in a low light area, the plant is not going to thrive and it may eventually die. So it's important to read about the plants. I find Home Depot they do have the little thing with information on the plant. So read about it, and so that you're not wasting your money and you're not bringing a plant home to kill it.
Yeah, but gardening is a little different from the plants. The gardening is totally different. Gardening, we just really have to. The big thing about gardening, I would think that we need to pay attention to zoning. Because like when I first started, for instance, I wanted to start tomatoes. In like February, my cousin was like, Gina, it's too early to start tomatoes.
Where? In New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's too early to start the tomatoes.
Okay.
But Gina didn't listen. I wanted to do the tomatoes. I wanted to do the zucchini. I was just like, I want to do it all. And he said, Gina, it's too early.
Yes.
It's too early. So I had to take a step back. I had to learn and listen. And so when I started again, it made sense. And you have to, when it's gardening, you must pay attention to the zone.
Yes.
Because everyone is different. I already know I'm zone 7. I don't know. You know your zone? I think you might be zone 7 too, because you're in New York.
Yes, I think I'm in zone 2.
You're zone 2?
2 or 3, I think. I'm not sure.
I could be wrong, honey. I know I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I'm the Google queen.
And then I went from, the other thing that I started growing, I came across this company that sells fruit trees. And I said, what? I could have mango trees. I could have avocado. I mean, I was just like totally amazed. I was like, I wanted it all, but I had no space. I had 0 space. But I said, I'm going to do it anyway. So I ordered these lime trees. And they came damaged. And one thing about me, I'm taking pictures and I write a letter and I attach the pictures. Well, they then sent me 2 more. So now I have 4 lime trees. It was just bananas. It was just so much in that little space, but I made it work because once the harvest came in, then it was like, okay, that was it. I couldn't afford to start something else again in the same soil, because there is a way that you can reuse your soil. So that's something that, just keep in mind for folks that are watching. You can reuse the soil. There is a way to do that. So after your harvest comes in, don't throw it away, because you can literally enrich the soil and use that again. You just have to be mindful of what you use that soil for before you reuse it for something else. We have a couple of comments here, Francis. Let me see. Darlene said, Gina, I'm going to have to come to you and get mine started. That's okay, Darlene. Yes, you come and I'll help you out. Now that she had to throw away a lot of plants. And we have somebody else here, Betta. You know Betta?
Elisha.
Yeah. She said, say again?
Elisha. She calls herself Better Elisha, yes.
Okay. She said that you gave her mint and it took over her flower bed and that she looked amazing.
It did. Yes.
Diana says, to be able to grow what you eat and eat what you grow. What a blessing. Francis and Gina, I applaud you girls. So yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Yes. Yeah, there was just so much to gardening.
It is. That's a simple thing that you can grow even on your windowsill. Scallions. In the Caribbean we call them scive. That's another thing I love to grow on my I buy organic, and what I do is I cut because when you buy them they have roots at the end. So I cut about a quarter inch of the scallion, and I put it in a glass of water, jar of water, and you watch it grow, and then you can get your scallions from your jar and use them in your food.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, there's something when it comes down to potatoes, there's something called indeterminate and determinate. And the indeterminate ones, these are indeterminate. And what happens is that it gives you a larger plant and larger production. I just know that's what it is. And you know, we can only do our best to start from organic. You know, we don't really know if the potato takes a really long time to give you chits, and it's been sprayed with some sort of chemical. Because when they get the chit, it literally starts to shrink the potato. So when it's sprayed, it wards off the chits. It takes a longer time. You know, this was an organic one, so it didn't take too long for it to start. And then even like when you visit a farmer's market, and let's say that they even have some starters, you know, feel free to ask them, listen, do you use pesticide? We don't know what their answer is going to be. And they could say no, and maybe they did. But, you know, feel free to ask as many questions. Even when you go to a nursery, ask those questions. Don't be afraid. The big box stores are a little tougher. You know, they're a little tougher, but, you know, they have plants. And what I will also say about a big box stores, if you buy a plant from them, you have a year warranty. Keep that in mind. I know we're not talking about plants today, but you have a year warranty in those big box stores because they know they're all delivered in the same. So I had a great time with my gardening, and I'll just say in that little 20 by 5 space, I grew tomatoes, bell peppers, not the green because the green don't agree with me. I did orange, red, yellow. I had spinach, kale, beets, and red onions were in one container. I grew hot peppers, which was the Scotch bonnet and the habanero peppers. I had jalapeno peppers as zucchini, kale, carrots, basil, rosemary, sage, thyme, mint, potatoes, and lettuce. And it was absolutely amazing. I made some videos. I think I'll probably put some videos up again. You know, my daughter was just my videographer. I mean, it was just so fun. I was like, oh, this is Farmer Gina. Let me let them know how you can grow more basil.
Okay. Yeah.
I
love it. I love it.
Yes, we have a few more comments of people are saying, okay, Darlene, very helpful information. Thank you all for you know, for tuning in. I appreciate you. I still have DeLashua is still with us. Francis, I thank you so very much for sharing. Thank you. I told you time was gonna go fast, you know.
I know. Thank you so much for having me, Gina.
So fast. I know. So let me bring on DeLashua.
Okay.
Hey, DeLashua. So thank you, ladies. Thank you for joining. I think everybody, you know, really enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and it was fun. And let's do this again. Let's talk. You know, DeLashua, I would love for you to come back and let us know what your harvest is like, and wait till you actually start eating from it. I mean, sometimes I felt for a salad, and I went right outside and I got my carrots and my onions, and it was just like, oh. You know, and then when the harvest was over and I had to go back to the supermarket, I was like, I don't even want to. Like, where is this really coming from? You know, after I did all of that, you know, I was so specific with the pesticides and with this and that. I knew my food was good. I knew my food was nutritious. And gosh darn it, I knew it was organic. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to move. We have one more comment. Let's see if we can get to this comment line. Oh, Darlene is saying, wow, amazing. So, you know, I love my theme song, you know, and it's called Mad Love. And you ladies have definitely given us some mad love. And I thank the both of you. The both of you are absolutely beautiful. Francis, I know you're going to get back to your gardening. I enjoyed your pictures. DeLashua, please continue posting and helping others, because bottom line, you know, planting, gardening is really, really, really so good for the mind, the body, and the soul. The soil is power. And it really does help us with our mental clarity and our mental wellness. So come on, ladies, we're going to go out with a more love. Yeah! Come on, ladies. Yeah! Thank you so much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure. Okay?
Right.
Thank you. I tell you, I'm gonna turn down this volume right here. Thank you all. I want to thank my sponsor, PPI Security, that specializes in city government and state contracts. All of you have been wonderful. I'll be back next week, and I hope you'll be back with me again. Don't forget to subscribe. Miss you all already. Take care, and bye-bye.
It's no love. Now you wanna show love, 'cause I get mad love.